Heritage Parkway off Highway 90 in Broussard.
Live from Upper Lafayette, this is ESPN 1037 KLWB Carencro Lafayette, KLCJ-FM Oak Grove Lake Charles 1041, a Delta Media station.
This game isn't fun. This game is a war.
It's time for the 2-minute drill.
Hurry it up, hurry it up, hurry it up.
Powered by B1 Bank. Visit b1bank.com to find a location near you.
Come on, let's go, you guys. Get in here, we gotta go fast now.
The Houston Astros returned to AL West action with a 6-4 win over the Los Angeles Angels last night in Anaheim. Even with the win, Tetsuya Imai had a rough outing, only going 2/3 of an inning, issuing 1 run on 2 hits with 4 walks. Game 2 will be tonight, and it'll be Peter Lambert versus Reed Detmers on the mound. First pitch is at 8:38 p.m. in Anaheim, and you can listen to it on our sister station, News Talk 98.5 FM and 1520 AM. Around the AL West tonight, the Texas Rangers will take on the Tampa Bay Rays, the Boston Red Sox will play the Athletics, and the Seattle Mariners will take on the Los Angeles Dodgers. In the standings, Houston sits only 2 games back of first place Texas. Also in some news for the Houston Astros, shortstop Jeremy Pena was named the AL Player of the Week for his efforts last week. He hit 506 games with 5 home runs and 8 RBI. North Carolina has placed football GM Michael Lombardi on administrative leave effective immediately after an investigation has begun on the football program by the College Sports Commission. The decision comes after a complaint was filed against Lombardi by a former staffer, although no further details are available at this time. Former LSU Tiger Jamal Adams is heading to the NFC North to play for the Minnesota Vikings for his 10th season in the NFL. The former number 6 overall pick spent last season with the Las Vegas Raiders, where he transitioned to linebacker and played in all 17 games, totaling 45 tackles, 1 sack, and 1 forced fumble.
I'm Blake Purser, and you're listening to ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, your home for the LSU Tigers and the Houston Astros.
The 2-minute drill has been powered by B1 Bank. Visit b1bank.com to find a location near you. Dawson Iserloh prides himself on taking a deep dive to uncover all the relevant data about the sports and sports teams he loves. And now he's sharing all those facts inside his big brain with all of you. Here is the LohDown with D-Loh on ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
It is the LohDown, and it is Tuesday, July the 28th is the date. By the way, happy birthday to my sister from yesterday. I should have said that yesterday because that was her actual birthday, but it slipped my mind during the show. So I texted her, and by the way, there's a 0.000% chance that she's listening to the show or listened to it yesterday, but did want to throw that in there. All right, we've actually got a really good show today. I've enjoyed putting together today's show. Ross Jackson is going to join us at the bottom of hour number 1. He's our only live guest of the day. I don't know why I said live. He's our only guest of the day, live or otherwise. We're going to talk some Saints training camp preview stuff. It's kind of going to be a theme of the next couple weeks because, as you may have heard, we are going to Canton, Ohio for Drew Brees' Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Could not be more stoked. I know James is fired up about it. Little RP3 D-Loh and Mesh reunion type shawls. Although it's got a special name, it is the gold standard. We will, of course, be talking about that more as the weeks, as this week and next week goes on. Been a fun month for us here. Busy for sure, but it's been a lot of fun. So with that in mind, right, I'm going to do at least something Saints-based almost every day leading up to that, right? So Ross is going to come on at 1:30. In the second hour, I'm going to do a D-Loh's Details. I decided that the last few D-Loh's Details I did that were Saints-related were about stuff that sucked for Saints fans, It was like tough losses that I just felt like I had to give some extra context on. So I decided, let's do a good one. Let's do positive memories. So in the second hour, we're going to revisit a Saints victory that was, how would I describe this? It was very important to the second act of Drew Brees' career. I guess we'll put it that way. I won't quite give it away just yet. You could use process of elimination to make your best guess. I'll share that with you later on in hour number 2. So D-Loh's Details will be at the bottom of the second hour, where we sometimes place a guest. That segment will kind of act as our guest, and then Ross Jackson at the bottom of the first hour. Other than that, we've just got some things to get to. The Houston Astros played a baseball game last night that was just, man, it was interesting. And I actually have a lot of notes about that game, so that's how we're going to start with Locked In. Everybody's getting $1 million contracts to put jersey patches on their jerseys, which is gross, but it is what it is, so we'll have to talk about that some. Also, today, speaking of the Saints theme, today's a very special day. Well, it's not actually the specific day that signifies anything, but there's a cool Twitter account right now that throws things back to 20 years ago today. So basically, like they say, the entire purpose of the account is they're tweeting like it's today 20 years ago, right? So they're just tweeting up live sports updates, and it's actually really cool for someone like myself who was a kid 20 years ago to kind of relive some of these things. So there's a Saints one today. The post of the day for them was Saints-related, so I'll get to that at the end of the hour as well. We have a poll question of the day that is Saints-related, so my goodness, just a black and gold edition of the LohDown, I guess. But it's going to be black and gold throughout most of the day. We're going to start it, though, with blue and orange because the Astros were in Anaheim last night. Astros after dark always gets a little weird, right? I mean, that's the nature of it. It felt a lot like a drunk Pac-12 game by the end of it. So let's get started with the Astros and Locked In.
D-Loh is the kind of guy that stays locked in. On what? Well, that depends on the night. But you can guarantee there was some sporting event that he found interesting. It's time to find out what D-Loh was locked in on the LohDown.
All right, if I'm out of breath, it's because I had to run and get my notebook that I had forgotten. But we're back, and we've got it. So, Astros are playing in Anaheim last night. Division rival, of course. The Angels, poor Angels, man. There's been like a, let's say, 10-year stretch now for me where I've thought to myself, man, maybe this is the year that the Angels kind of put some things together and give Mike Trout a chance to compete, for a playoff run. And, I mean, none bigger than the Ohtani years, right? You're like, well, surely they're going to figure this out after we realized that Ohtani was one of the best players in the world. That didn't happen. So every time the Astros go to Anaheim now, I do enjoy watching Mike Trout play baseball, but you know that it's just a sad place to be. Right? I mean, man, they should be a good franchise. They're not. Anyway, not the point. So we start off, the Jeremy Pena trade talks are getting, well, they were getting loud, but then Jim Crane basically was like, yeah, we're not trading him. I will say this. I was on the record of saying it too, because I think like his first year was the year before I started with Delta Media. So like my early takes, when I was producing and stuff, I was like, yeah, I don't really know if Jeremy Pena is going to be like a great player in this league. I kind of thought maybe he had a little bit of, that coming onto the scene. Nobody's got a book on you. He had the crazy clutch homer against the Mariners in the playoffs and all that stuff. But I was like, I just don't know if he's going to be a consistently good big league hitter. Outside of when he's battled injuries, he has been. Now, he did have that stretch for like 2 years where he all of a sudden lost all his power. But like right now, he's been hitting a bunch of homers. He's playing at an all-star type level for the Astros. And so, look, I certainly am a fan of Pena's, and I would rather them not trade him, especially given it doesn't feel like you're going to get some, Kevin brought this up when we had him on yesterday. It doesn't feel like you're going to get some sort of market resetting, like, hey, we can reset the farm system now because of this haul we got back for Jeremy Pena. So anyway, I was thinking about that last night when he stepped in to lead off the ball game. This Urania cat that the Angels threw yesterday, He's like the modern day, because it's these pitchers and you go, wait, where did that guy come from? He's out of the Dominican Republic. I knew who he was just because he's been having such a good season, but like I didn't know who he was before this year. And he's throwing 101 miles an hour. That's an interesting word to make plural, right? Because you pluralize miles, not hour. But anyway. Dude's throwing 101 mile an hour fastballs. He's throwing 99 mile an hour sinkers, 93 mile an hour changeups, and he's dotting them. I mean, he's commanding it. He's moving it up and down. I'm like, this is just ridiculous. Like the guy, I mean, he's got a lot of Paul Skeens in him, if I'm being honest with you. smooth delivery from the right side, just kind of. And so, I mean, he was fun to watch last night. He wasn't a whole lot of fun for the Astros hitters to face. They ended up with 2 hits on the day against him, by the way. And then Tatsuya Imai gets on the mound in the bottom of the first inning, man. And it's just like he's got a basket for a head. He's a basket case, right? And I don't mean that in a derogatory manner. I just mean he does not right now have the mental makeup to be a big league starter week in and week out. Because he was really good last time out, right? And what happens? He goes to Anaheim and he can't throw a strike to save his life. I mean, he was and it's not close misses. Sometimes you'll see a pitcher in the first inning, like really trying a spot. Maybe they're nibbling off the corner by a couple inches, off the corner by a half an inch, and then all of a sudden you walk 2 batters and you're like, man, is he having trouble? And then they make a slight adjustment. They find the zone and they settle in and throw 6 innings, right? Well, when Imai can't find it, he starts missing wider and wider. And like, if you're on deck, you're like, he might hit me, and I'm in the on deck circle. That's how wild he gets. So he doesn't get out of the first inning. Scrambled eggs is the word I wrote down. I was like, that's what I think about when James is looking at me funny. I was just like, he's so all over the place. So if I am not the nickname guy, but I'm going to pitch this to Kevin. Maybe we'll call Imai scrambled eggs, because that's what he makes me think of whenever he's out there. Anyway, Espada, by the way, I'll fast forward a little bit here. Espada took up for him after the game, and I know people were like, oh, Espada's soft, and he should just call him out and stuff. I don't blame Joe Espada for handling it like that. He's clearly dealing with a delicate situation because they invested a lot in this guy. That's the main thing. If the Astros had signed Imai out of Japan for 1 year, $5 million, and he looked like this, he'd have been cut 2 months ago, okay? Or he'd been pitching in AAA. The point is, since the guy's stuff is really good, and I know Espada said that as well, and he's Japanese, so you know there is some sort of, it's been a tough transition for him, and I'll give him a little bit of a pass on that, but like, it's just been so wild. So I don't blame Espada for taking up for him, but clearly it's, it doesn't sound great for Astros fans who've been watching this guy do what he does. He got 2 outs, by the way, and that is the 3rd time this season that he hasn't gotten out the first inning. Like, I was thinking about that. Justin Verlander's been pitching for 20-something years. I need to pull up the exact number. I don't know how many times Justin Verlander hasn't got out of the first inning in his career, but it's probably not that much more than 3. I'm sure it's more than 3, but I don't think it's by a lot. Anyway, Christian Javier came into this game later on and actually looked sharp-ish. I say sharp-ish. Velocity's not great, but it's good enough, and he got outs, and he pitched 5 innings, and he got out of a jam, and he kept the Angels at 4 runs, so that is very encouraging because we hadn't seen Javier since July 19th before yesterday. It had been 9 days. The ERA was up over 7. It had been a disaster since he returned. If Christian Javier is going to come back and be at least a viable option for this team in some form or fashion, that is very, very good news. So that's my first big-time positive from yesterday. 78 RBIs for Yordan Alvarez. The dude is just unbelievable. And with the Astros down 4-1, by the way, 2 of those runs, of course, came in that very first inning. They added 2 more later. You're down 4-1, and Pena doubles to start the inning. Alvarez, RBI single. You cut it to 4-2, but the Angels do get out of the jam, and then you go to the 9th inning. So the Angels are a bad baseball team. I think we are all aware of that. Worst record in the American League. I think after last night, the official mark is 42-65. Let me confirm that for you. Yeah, that's the accurate record for the Angels. And like the 9th inning last night, and we know this doesn't always happen in baseball, right? Because it's Major League Baseball and it's professionals and it's baseball. So sometimes a team that's terrible can look like God's gift to baseball for 9 innings. And you go, wow, how's that team so bad? They look so good today. The Angels looked in the 9th inning exactly like a team that's made 1 playoff series since Mike Trout arrived a decade and a half ago. Let me give you the play-by-play here. Hit by pitch, bloop single. Error on the second baseman on a ball hit right at him, by the way. This was not some sliding, diving play. This is going to be a double play, and the Astros rally is going to be effectively spoiled. He botches that. They've got first and second. They walk Yordan intentionally because they're scared of Yordan. I get that. And then they hit the next hitter, which walks in a run. They walk the next guy after that, which brings in a run and gives the Astros the lead, by the way. And then Altuve hits an infield dribbler that the pitcher makes an error on. So they did get 2 outs within this stretch, by the way, but not counting the 2 outs, it went hit by pitch, bloop single, E4, walk, hit by pitch, walk, E1. That's how you lose a baseball game. So the Angels were up 4-2 heading into that inning. They gave up 4 runs. The Astros hit exactly 0 baseballs hard. The bloop single was like, I guess it was relatively hit hard, but it was not like a missile. It was just a little blooper that fell into center field. And the Astros won this game 6-4. Josh Hader, by the way, a little shaky of late, but he did get the save after allowing a couple base runners. It's one of those games in the course of 162 where you just go, hey, we stole that one. Did we deserve to win tonight? Probably not. Would we have beaten any of the other 28 Major League Baseball teams tonight? Probably not. But you know what? We beat the Angels, and that's what counts. So the Stros get to 53 and 55. They are down to still, well, I guess I shouldn't say down to. They're still 2 games back in the division, but they have improved their standing. They are now in second place because last night the Mariners lost again to the Rangers. Those two are playing each other right now, right? So one's going to be winning and one's going to be losing every night. So you're still 2 back of Texas, but you're now a half game up on Seattle, and you move right back towards getting to even 500, which is the big goal. You know, we were talking about the Red Sox. We didn't get to talk a ton about it while we were in Tampa because of everything going on, but they were on that 14-game winning streak while we were there, and I think we mentioned it on the show. They've still continued to play well. Boston has gone from, effectively 10 games under 500 to now 5 games over. 14-game winning streaks don't just grow on trees. I don't know if the Stros are going to find one of those anytime soon, especially given that you have to let Tetsuya Imai pitch somewhere in there. But that's the type of run, right, where you sit there and you go, hey, the Red Sox fundamentally changed their season by playing 2 good weeks in the early to middle part of July. That sounds like that's what they did, right? By flipping that off. And now they have the chance to be a little more aggressive at the trade deadline. You know, Boston's a team in general that likes to go for it, although I know their new ownership thing is weird and some of the fans are skeptical about how dedicated they are to winning. But the Astros, my point is they don't have to go on a 14-game winning streak to do this. If they win, 6 of their next 8, they're going to be a couple games over 500. So you keep climbing, man. You keep climbing. We get Astros After Dark each of the next 2 nights yet again. I can only imagine what the follow-up will be after the hilariousness that was last night's baseball game. But we also get Peter Lambert on the mound tonight, who just keeps getting guys out. Even if the stuff's not great, doesn't matter. He keeps getting guys out. He'll face Reed Detmers, longtime veteran pitcher, who unfortunately is spending the prime of his career in Anaheim. Tough break for him. Pour one out for him. But anyway, we'll take a break. We'll be back after this. We got more to get to. I'll go ahead. You know what? Let's knock that this day in Saints history type thing out. What happened 20 years ago that had people excited about a player who would end up being a franchise great? I'll reveal that to you on the other side. It's LohDown.
This is the LohDown with D-Loh, live on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
Drew Brees rewrote the NFL record books as he helped lead the New Orleans Saints to a Super Bowl victory. Now number 9 will slip on the gold jacket, have his bronze bust revealed, and be immortalized in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. RP3, D-Loh, and Mesh will be there live in Canton, Ohio to witness it all with a live 3-hour special. Tune in Friday, August 7th from 12 to 3 for the Gold Standard, presented by Beal and Hebert, Acadiana's hometown lawyers. It's right here on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette, 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
From Tiger Stadium to the Texas state line, ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles is your home for live and local sports talk in Southwest Louisiana. We're your official home for the LSU Tigers and Houston Astros. ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles also tackles the latest involving the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, McNeese Cowboys, and New Orleans Saints. So keep it locked right here. ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
Around Acadiana, community means supporting the businesses that make our hometown special. That's why we're proud to spotlight local companies that are certified South Louisiana.
Delta Home Center and Delta Trailer Sales, your one-stop shop for utility and cargo trailers. Heavy-duty dump and gooseneck trailers, portable buildings, cabins, decks, porches, fences, carports, and site-built metal shops. Located at Exit 7 in Carencro or at deltatrailersales.com.
When you support local businesses, you strengthen the communities we call home. Shop local, support local. Certified South Louisiana.
Hi, I'm Nancy Landry. No matter what part of our great state you call home, Louisiana's elections are an important part of who we are. In 2026, closed party primaries will change how some of those elections happen, so you'll want to know what to do. Keeping your registration current ensures you'll get the right party-based ballot. Remember, this change only applies to certain offices. To learn more, visit govote.com or download the GoVote app.
Paid for by the Louisiana Secretary of State's office.
Your Honor, I would like to introduce exhibit number 1.
MeTV is America's #1 classic television network.
There can only be one number 1, me.
MeTV features over 60 of the greatest classic TV series each week.
Go with the winner.
Enjoy dramas, comedies, westerns, sci-fi, and more.
You just watch me.
Watch MeTV Acadiana on KLWB, over the air on Channel 50.1. Check your local cable listings for the channel in your area.
MeTV is memorable entertainment television.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate a lower tax bill. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts. But you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will fight for you using industry secrets that can stop any IRS actions, eliminate penalties and interest, and reduce your past tax bill so you pay the IRS less. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, call the Tax Doctor now for a free IRS audit emergency review. 800-281-0266, 800-281-0266, 800-281-0266, 800-281-0266.
Do yourself a favor and download the free ESPN Southwest Louisiana mobile app, powered by Moss Motors BMW for your Android or Apple devices. Download the app by searching ESPN 1037 Lafayette or ESPN 1041 Lake Charles. It's just that easy to take Southwest Louisiana's sports station with you wherever you go.
All right, so I will shout out the Twitter account because they're awesome, and they have earned a follow from me, and I look forward to continuing to see how they go, right? You got to find your niche sometimes in social media, say, hey, what hasn't been done before, and I think this is pretty clever. So it's called 20 Years Ago Sports. You can follow them at 20, the number 20 years ago sport, with no S at the end. And essentially, their bio is exactly what they do. Live tweets from what is happening in sports on this day 20 years ago. So they've done a whole lot of stuff about like trades that have happened, of course, like all-star game notes. You know, anytime someone either passed away, did something significant. I've been seeing them come up on the feed for a long time, right? But today's got me all in. So, and by the way, at first I was like, oh, I guess they just do one thing a day. No, they actually post a bunch of stuff every day. So it's not that they chose the Saints to be the thing. Which, by the way, also 20 years ago, honorable mention, the Milwaukee Brewers added a fifth contestant to their sausage race as chorizo competed against hot dog, Italian sausage, Polish sausage, and bratwurst for the special occasion. Like, also, how do they find this stuff is another question I have. But regardless, whatever. Okay. It is day 2 of training camp for the New Orleans Saints, and so far the buzz at camp has been around rookie 7th-round pick Marcus Colston out of Hofstra University. Colston is hoping to use the preseason to earn a spot in a crowded wide receiver room. 20 years ago today, Marcus Colston was buzzed about at camp. So obviously, I've already done the whole Marcus Colston's on the underappreciated stuff, not by Saints fans, I think just by big picture NFL fans. So I've done all the numbers. We can go through them again. Nearly 10,000 yards receiving, 72 touchdowns, 146 games played. Never missed more than 5 games in a season, and only missed more than 3 games in a season one time. in his 10-year NFL career, was reliable, was always there for you. Played in 10 playoff games for the Saints, of course, including that Super Bowl victory, was just awesome and never dropped a ball. He did inexplicably throw a forwards lateral in Seattle in a playoff game that the Saints were probably going to lose anyway, but at least would have had one more chance at, and I still don't know what was going through his head. But that's neither here nor there. The thing about it, though, so I was thinking, what's a different Marcus Colston element that I can bring to the conversation today? And I do have this. He has scarred. He's created some problems for Saints fans in this way. Every time we get we get some undrafted or like late round receiver in camp that makes a couple of plays, we're like, wait a minute, did we just find another Marcus Colston? And we haven't found one yet. Okay. There hasn't been one. Now, there were more like him throughout the Breeze era, right? You think of a Willie Snead and the impact that he had. You think of a Lance Moore, wasn't like a highly drafted prospect. You think of, some of the guys that were in and out of that building. Like Robert Meacham had a little more pedigree behind him. That one was one that was a little bit hyped up. But there were guys during that time frame that were undrafted or, low stock players that ended up becoming something. But especially in the second act, like the Brandon Coleman, right? He's the prime example. Brandon Coleman was going to be the next Marcus Colston in our minds. I'm not afraid to admit it. I was like, hey, look at this guy. Big-bodied, reliable hands, we thought. Can create separation, this is perfect. This is Marcus Colston 2.0. And, no offense, the guy couldn't catch football, Couldn't stay on the field. And, had a few years of that, and he washed away. Remember the Austin Carr buzz? They're like, hey, this guy Austin Carr in the slot, kind of shifty. Maybe we found a new Lance Moore. Did catch a touchdown pass in a playoff game, but Austin Carr wasn't quite it. Then you had, maybe in recent times, Kevin Austin. What's this going to turn into, right? Maybe the Saints can get something out of him. Keith Kirkwood. Anybody with Keith Kirkwood? You might remember that name. Tommy Lee Lewis, right? Tommy Lee was part with Austin Carr, that Saints game where they broke the record because there was like 5 different touchdowns thrown to 5 undrafted players. 4, right?
In the Thanksgiving game versus the Falcons.
Right. He was part of it. Austin Carr was part of it. And then, maybe most recently, everybody's favorite camp standout, Mason Tipton. So all these guys have become a product. Like, I don't know this for sure because I'm only really locked in 100% with the Saints. But I imagine other fan bases see like undrafted receivers make a mark in camp for a couple days and they're like, yeah, whatever. But Saints fans were like, what if it could be him? This guy could be the franchise. Who knows? Maybe we'll retire his jersey one day.
Lightning strike twice?
Yeah, it hasn't so far.
No.
But, I don't know.
Can you name the 4 players that caught the touchdown pass against the Falcons?
What year is that?
That was 2018.
That is Austin Carr is one.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy Lee is the second.
Mm-hmm.
We've got. See, the problem is it could have been a fullback. It could have been.
I'll tell you, it was not a fullback.
It was not a fullback. Okay, were they both receivers? Do we have a tight end missing?
There was a tight end.
There's a tight end. So my brain always goes to Garrett Griffin, but I know he's not the answer here.
It was not Garrett Griffin.
Yeah, it was not Garrett Griffin. So in that time frame, we're talking 2018. So that's that Saints team that did go pretty far in the playoffs. Is it Josh Hill?
No.
Not Josh
Hill.
Hill.
Josh Hill was retired at that point.
Wow. I actually am going to talk about Josh Hill on D-Loh's Details today. Oh, so it's the year after the year that I just did all that stuff on. Okay. Tommy Lee Lewis.
Tommy Lee Lewis was the first
Keith Kirkwood is one of them, right?
He was the last one.
He's the last one. Okay, so now I'm just missing the tight end. Who else played tight end for the
did you get the
Saints?
other receiver? Yeah, you said Austin Carr.
Yeah, Austin Carr. Oh, this is going to bother me. There's another tight end, and I actually saw the footage from this game not that long ago, and I do remember when I saw the Keith Kirkwood touchdown, I thought it was Traquan Smith at first, and I was like, that's not right because Traquan got drafted, and I was like, oh, that's Keith Kirkwood. And so there was a tight end. Man, it's not going to be. Do you need his
number?
If you give me his number, I'm probably going to get it. It's not Ben Watson.
Definitely was not Ben Watson.
But he was on that team. Give me his number.
85.
It's Dan Arnold.
Yeah.
Gosh, Dan Arnold. Dan Arnold was a goofy dude. I met Dan Arnold at a...
oh, you met him?
Yeah, at a celebrity softball tournament that was hosted at Tulane that Drew Brees played in. And Dan Arnold can swing the stick, by the way. But, boy, he's a goofy guy. Funny guy to be around, though. All right. That's it. There we go. Little Saints history for today. Let's keep the black and gold vibes rolling. Ross Jackson on the other side of the break. It's LohDown.
This is the LohDown with D-Loh, live on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
This game isn't fun. This game is a war.
It's time for the 2-minute drill.
Hurry it up, hurry it up, hurry it up.
Powered by B1 Bank. Visit b1bank.com to find a location near you.
Come on, let's go, you guys. Get in here, we gotta go fast now.
The Houston Astros returned to AL West action with a 6-4 win over the Los Angeles Angels last night in Anaheim. Even with the win, Tetsuya Imai had a rough outing, only going 2/3 of an inning, issuing 1 run on 2 hits with 4 walks. Game 2 will be tonight, and it'll be Peter Lambert versus Reed Detmers on the mound. First pitch is at 8:38 p.m. in Anaheim, and you can listen to it on our sister station, News Talk 98.5 FM and 1520 AM. Around the AL West tonight, the Texas Rangers will take on the Tampa Bay Rays, the Boston Red Sox will play the Athletics, and the Seattle Mariners will take on the Los Angeles Dodgers. In the standings, Houston sits only 2 games back of first place Texas. Also in some news for the Houston Astros, shortstop Jeremy Pena was named the AL Player of the Week for his efforts last week. He hit 506 games with 5 home runs and 8 RBI. North Carolina has placed football GM Michael Lombardi on administrative leave effective immediately after an investigation has begun on the football program by the College Sports Commission. The decision comes after a complaint was filed against Lombardi by a former staffer, although no further details are available at this time. Former LSU Tiger Jamal Adams is heading to the NFC North to play for the Minnesota Vikings for his 10th season in the NFL. The former number 6 overall pick spent last season with the Las Vegas Raiders, where he transitioned to linebacker and played in all 17 games, totaling 45 tackles, 1 sack, and 1 forced fumble.
I'm Blake Purser, and you're listening to ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, your home for the LSU Tigers and the Houston Astros.
The 2-minute drill has been powered by B1 Bank. Visit b1bank.com to find a location near you. Drew Brees set a new standard for quarterback play, and now the Saints legend will be immortalized in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. RP3, D-Loh, and Mesh will be there for this historic occasion with a special 3-hour live broadcast from Canton, Ohio. Tune in Friday, August 7th for the Gold Standard. Presented by Beal and Hebert, Acadiana's hometown lawyers, right here on ESPN, 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
BB's Auto Sales has been serving Acadiana since 1966. Cleanest selection of pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. Need financing? No problem. BB's offers easy financing for all credit types, including in-house financing. Plus, they're paying top dollar for your trade. Voted top 3 dealership in Community Choice Awards 2 years in a row. Visit BB's Auto Sales, 2 convenient locations off Johnston Street and in Abbeville. bbsautosales.com. Cleanest cars in Acadiana.
Hi, I'm Nancy Landry. No matter what part of our great state you call home, Louisiana's elections are an important part of who we are. In 2026, closed party primaries will change how some of those elections happen, so you'll want to know what to do. Keeping your registration current ensures you'll get the right party-based ballot. Remember, this change only applies to certain offices. To learn more, visit govote.com or download the GoVote app.
Paid for by the Louisiana Secretary of State's office.
Oh, look who's here. Everybody Loves Raymond is on MeTV. Who told you that? Raymond! America's #1 classic TV network.
Nothing even comes close.
Enjoy 2 back-to-back episodes every weeknight.
We're doing it twice.
Watch Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah, it's all about you, Raymond.
Weeknights starting at 8 on MeTV.
Watch MeTV Acadiana on KLWB, over the air on channel 50.1. Check your local cable listings for the channel in your area.
I've been driving trucks for a long time, and safety is my #1 priority. I know that my truck has huge blind spots. That's why I remember to check my mirrors often for smaller vehicles. Everyone can help keep our roads safe. Next time you're behind the wheel, try to avoid lingering in those blind spots. It can be dangerous. Let's all plan to share the road safely. Learn how at www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Man, I loved playing high school sports growing up. And it's fun being a fan now, don't get me wrong, but sitting in the stands feels like I'm missing out on all the action, you know? I wanted to get back in the game, so I signed up to be a high school official. It takes me back to my playing days. I'm supporting students, and I get paid to make the big calls. Do you want to see the game up close? Sign up to become an official in Louisiana at highschoolofficials.com.
Who that gonna be talking about them Saints? D-Loh is. Coming up right here on the LohDown with D-Loh.
All righty, we continue. It is a Tuesday edition of the LohDown. It is New Orleans Saints-centric, and we head to our only guest of the day, our friend Ross Jackson, host of the Locked on Saints podcast, also contributor with LouisianaSports.net. Ross, how's the offseason going, man? Are you ready for this, or are you still trying to soak in some weeks off here?
No, man, I'm ready for some football. I'm glad we're finally here. I'm ready. I'm so ready.
It's and look, we get a little bit of a head start of it specifically with the Saints with Drew's induction. We just announced it that we're going to be going next week, so we're super excited about that. But let's just start there, man. Like when you sit back, how do you think you're going to feel about this? Like for me, this is I wasn't around when Ricky or any of the other guys went into the Hall of Fame, so this one's going to be a first for me. And I don't exactly know, and obviously getting to be there is going to be wild, but I don't know exactly how I'm going to feel when it happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty incredible step, right? If nothing else, it means, the bad news is it means you and I are getting older. So that'll be one thing that we'll have to eventually deal with. But outside of that, I mean, look, this is the greatest New Orleans Saints player we've ever gotten to see play football. How cool is it that we got the opportunity to see it, and now we get to see, and you in person, the, inauguration of his, or the enshrinement, rather, of his career as a Hall of Fame player in person. I mean, it's an incredible opportunity to be able to see that. And it was an incredible opportunity to be able to watch him play. And beyond watch him play, right, this is a guy that was a Hall of Famer on the field, too, but he was a Hall of Famer in the community. He was a Hall of Famer with his kids. He was a Hall of Famer to the other men around him, to the other people around him. He was a Hall of Famer to the city. I think that's one of the biggest things that stands out most about Drew Brees is that he wasn't just a story on the field. It was all the incredible stuff that he and his family, did off the field as well.
Yeah, and I know that story that he's been retelling's making the rounds of his visit here or I should say here to New Orleans and, obviously everything that went down with Miami and then the doctors and stuff like that. Like I was saying this the other day, Ross, if you at the time would have even given the most bold prediction of anyone, right? Because I think about it now, whenever a draft pick or player happens, we have to give these takes. Saying that he was going to become a Hall of Famer after what he had just went through would have been outlandish.
Right.
No one would have even dared to say it, and here we are.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of folks that thought it was a bad decision for Sean Payton to go after Drew Brees, and for the Saints. I mean, a lot of people thought it was a bad decision to go after Sean Payton as well, a guy who had been mostly like an offensive coordinator and everything like that. And hadn't really had, he had this like bloodline of great coaches that he had worked with though, but people were kind of down on him. People were down on the upstartness of he and Brees together. And then look at what that turned into, right? That's a Hall of Fame head coach and a Hall of Fame quarterback now. And I think you're right. I mean, there were a lot of question marks around the idea of, what the Saints could be with Drew Brees and where Drew Brees could take him. But I think he answered each and every one of those questions, and he did so emphatically, and that'll be punctuated out in Canton.
Okay, with that being said, we lead into this offseason where, a lot of us are comparing the excitement level around this team to some of those teams at the end when it was like, hey, the pressure to win now. But it's almost a better feeling, right, Ross? This Saints team right now, for me, I remember those 17, 18, 19 years. It was like this feeling of pressure, like, man, it's got to happen now. It's not to say it's ever going to end up being as good as it once was with Shuck and the rest of this new, clan of players, but this feels a lot more like exciting, like maybe those 06, 07 years were. Like, hey, man, let's see what this could be. It kind of feels like the sky's the limit.
Yeah, it's kind of scrappy and upstart right now, right? I mean, it's you look at this roster that's all of a sudden incredibly young. You have a lot of future in this roster. You've got 2 starting tackles on rookie contracts, a starting quarterback on rookie contract, 2 starting cornerbacks on rookie contracts, majority of your wide receiver rooms on a rookie contract, or is negotiating their second deal when it comes to Chris Olave. I mean, you have a lot of these young players that, there's a lot of excitement. There are certainly some high expectations for this team going into 2026, but there's nothing that says that 2026 is kind of the end of the story. And those seasons that you were talking about, to where 2017, 18, 19, 20, it felt like there was that sense of urgency because any one of those years could have been the final year for Drew Brees, could have been the final year for Sean Payton, could have been the final year for that specific iteration of the New Orleans Saints. That's not the reality that they're in anymore. They're in a reality to where they have the opportunity to be competitive now and continue to get better in the years to come. And so I think that that's a part of what the excitement really kind of, cements itself to, is that it's not just a situation here to where, the Saints are trying to win in 2026 or potentially nothing else. This is a team that's setting up building blocks for itself here in 2026 with a lot of opportunity for its future, both near and far.
I know we talked about this a little bit, back at the beginning of the offseason when we had John Ross, but my level of concern hasn't really changed. I just don't love the cornerback room on this team right now. I feel like Kool-Aid's a little out of position on the outside. I'd love if Quincy Riley takes the next step, but there's no guarantees there. Where are you right now as we head into camp? Like, how big of a storyline is that for you, what the cornerbacks and DBs as a whole are going to look like?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in the minority in my viewpoint of the cornerback room. I'm really high on the Saints cornerback room. They're young up front, and then they're experienced in depth, and that can certainly create some, conversation around, who should be starting or whatever. But I don't think that's going to be the case with this group. I think Kool-Aid is positioned well. I think he really kind of caught on to that Brandon Staley system and way of playing and the aggressive nature that is necessary there. The playmaking, eyes on the quarterback nature with which they play in that Brandon Staley defense. And he got very strong toward the end of the season. Same thing with Quincy Riley, who really saw, things continue to come together for himself over the course of his rookie year. And so I think they're headed in a good way, or in a good direction. And when I think about the Saints DBs, I think the safety group in particular is one of the strongest position groups on the field. And so with that all taken into consideration, I'm pretty high on the secondary as a whole. But I do admit that there are the typical questions that you would have about a young roster or a young pair of starting corners, in that you have a young pair of starting corners, right? One guy going into his third year, one guy going into his second year. And so it's a little bit reversed from what we're used to seeing. Typically, we see the starters as the veteran guys, and the depth is oftentimes the young guys. It's reversed here in New Orleans, but I'm a little bit higher on those guys than I think the majority of the public might be, and the majority of the media landscape might be when it comes to those corners in particular.
Russ Jackson is our guest, the host of Locked On Saints podcast, also contributor to LouisianaSports.net. He's with us here on the LohDown Talking Saints. Yeah, it's actually funny, and I'm going to do a little bit of a breakdown, Ross. We're in the off-season stages where we don't have a ton of live stuff to discuss, so I'm going to go back and discuss a Saints playoff victory in the past. And that team, I went back and realized, in the postseason had Ken Crawley as their number 2 corner. And so I was thinking to myself, now they had Lattimore playing at maybe one of the best levels he had ever played at as a young player. Mm-hmm. But it was like, man, and I kind of started thinking to myself, would I rather have 2 decent corners out there or one great one that I know I can put on anybody and then, just a replacement level guy opposite? And so maybe the Saints will take that approach this year and have 2 guys that, can hang, and just maybe not that one shutdown island guy, which, we know in today's NFL, there's not a ton of those blanket number 1 corners around anyway.
Yeah, and if your pass rush is operating the way that you hope for the pass rush to operate, which the Saints cleared 40 sacks for the first time in the 17-game season structure last year, if the pass rush is operating, that certainly helps a ton too, right? Like that symbiotic relationship between pass rush and coverage can kind of help to erase maybe some of the inexperience and some of the growing pains that may otherwise be happening with young guys that are out there on that perimeter. And so I think that becomes a big part of it too. And then you look at the safeties that have their backs to veteran guys in Justin Reed and Julian Blackmon. Julian Blackmon's got to, of course, stay on the football field, but that's a big part of his goal over the course of the offseason is to, he wanted to just be the guy that's in the best shape of this entire roster coming back from the offseason break. We'll see if he's done that coming in, because better shape you're in, the more likely you are to stay healthy. If those, there's enough of a support system around those guys as well to potentially help to cover up where some of those deficiencies or struggles more likely may end up arising throughout that 2026 season.
Ross, it's interesting to me just this kicker situation. I mean, it always can turn into something. When Groupie won the job over Lutz, and now we had Charlie Smith last year, some really good signs and some thought, but now they got some competition for him and some really. And obviously, competition's usually a good thing. It's going to lead to somebody winning that job, and maybe it'll elevate both of them. But how serious do you think the competition is, and what would your level of, I don't know, surprise? Like, is it Smith's job to lose, or do you think this is a toss-up battle?
Yeah, look, I think this is a legitimate battle between these two players. This was always the goal for the Saints during the offseason, was to bring in somebody to compete with Charlie Smith. And part of that is to make sure that they have an opportunity to make the right decision and pick the guy that, rises to the occasion, all those pieces. But they also love the way that Charlie Smith has responded to competition. When they brought in both Cade York and Justin Tucker to compete over the course of the season last year, they had Charlie Smith out there kicking with them during their tryout. So they introduced a little bit of a competitive factor for him there, and they liked what they saw there. Then they signed Cade York. They move on from Blake Groupie eventually, and then they hold a kicker competition again between Cade York and Charlie Smith. And Charlie Smith won out that battle. Again, they loved the way that he responded to the competition. So they brought in Mason Shipley this past offseason, liked the way that he responded to the competition, and then now they're bringing in, another opportunity here with a guy like Tanner Brown, who has a really impressive resume. I mean, he was 25 of 28 during the regular season at the UFL in the spring, was 4-4 in the postseason. All told, he had a combined 3 kicks of 60 or more yards that he made. I mean, it's got a really impressive leg. Charlie Smith has a really impressive leg as well, but has been kicking for a far lesser time span in his life, so has some of that development left to do. But if he shows that he's done that over the course of the offseason, it just allows the Saints to field as right as possible with whichever one of those two guys advances, whether it's the incumbent or the competition.
There's just so much excitement, Ross, around what this receiving room could be, and really this group of pass catchers as a whole, with the addition of Jordan Tyson, Olave back in the fold, of course. The tight ends, Oscar Delp being brought in to help out with Juwan Johnson, even a Noah Fant if he can stay healthy. But it's also kind of a lot of, well, yeah, that might be nice. That might be nice. Like Jalen Polk, what is he going to look like? Vele. What do you make of the idea that it's kind of like, I don't want to use the phrase throwing a bunch at the wall and seeing what sticks, but at the same time, it's like, man, if just 2 or 3 of these what-ifs work out for the Saints, it could be such a better room than it's been in the past few years.
Yeah, look, the Saints are going to have maybe turned around their wide receiver room more than any other position group on their team from last year going into this year. I think tight end is a big part of that too, right? No Taysom Hill return, no Foster Moreau return, no Jack Stoll return. Those two latter guys signed elsewhere. And so the Saints bring in Noah Fant, who has kind of that Venn diagram with Juwan Johnson, where they overlap on some things, but each individually bring unique pieces to the offense as well. Then you add Oscar Delp, who can play this very complementary role and I think can be the future of the tight end position moving forward. They love what they've got in that room. And the same thing with that wide receiver room. They drafted 3 wide receivers for the first time since 1989. There were 12 rounds in the draft at that time, only 7 nowadays. And so it's clear that this was a team that, A, wanted to revamp its pass catcher room, and B, wanted to build around its quarterback in Tyler Shuck. And I think each of those guys shows you a little bit of that. And you're right. If, look, you got Chris Olave, you got Jordan Tyson, you got Devon Vele, but then if Barryon Brown turns into a successful returner and deep threat for you, if Bryce Lance turns into a good development piece for you, if Jalen Polk takes off the way that the Saints believe that he can, then all of a sudden you have a really, really talented 6-deep wide receiver room that's much deeper than what the Saints had last year, where at the end of the season they were throwing to practice squad guys or guys that didn't even start the season on an NFL roster. And by the way, those guys are still around competing as well, and Ronnie Bell and Kevin Austin Jr., who caught touchdowns toward the end of last year. So this wide receiver room, very, very different this year than it was set up last year. And I think that that's a place where it brings a lot of potential for not just this New Orleans Saints offense, but the team as a whole.
We can close it with the quarterback, Ross. Of course, so much excitement around him, but at the same time, he's got to go out and do it. What will you be looking for in camp, right? We know it's tough. Derek Carr had a couple camps where he looked awesome, and it didn't necessarily happen all the time in game. What are you going to be looking for that'll give you an idea that you think Tyler Shuck is still right on the right path?
Yeah, I want to see what happens when he doesn't look awesome. I want to see what happens the next play after he throws an interception, the next play when a pass gets broken up. I want to see him take risks, right? One of the big things or big critiques of him during training camp last year, when, let's be real, he was competing for a job at that point, so you're trying to minimize mistakes as best as possible. In that scenario, was that he was maybe a little gun shy, and now there's no reason for him to be. He's the guy. There's no competition. There's no, this player looks good enough to be in the conversation anymore. It's Tyler Shuck's job, and so seeing him settle into that and be willing to attack, be willing to try some things. It was a big thing Drew Brees used to always talk about, and that's a guy that Tyler Shuck spent a lot of time with this offseason, is training camp was the place to try, hey, that's a tighter window than I would throw to in a game situation, but this is training camp. I'm going to give that a shot. Let's see what happens. Can I get it there? Can I get to that point? Can I throw to that spot on the field despite me being in this spot on the field? And if those moments fail, you got to move on and get to the next rep. And so that's my big thing, is a little bit of a permission to fail for him that allows him to be a little bit more risky, allows him to test himself a little bit more, test his receivers a little bit more, test the defense a little bit more, and then being willing to just forget and move on if it doesn't go his way so that he can pick up the next play and then make that one instead.
Ross, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for bringing your insight as always. Enjoy what's left of the calm before the storm, man, because I know once camp gets rolling, it's going to be nonstop for you, buddy.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man. Thanks so much for having me. You take care, stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon.
It's Ross Jackson, Locked On Saints and LouisianaSports.net. Appreciate him for joining us, talking a little Drew Brees and getting set up for camp, which is getting going. Of course, we got the Brees Hall of Fame induction, and then we'll be right into it. So it's going to be a quick finish to the offseason, right? We'll say it that way. All right, we'll take a break. We'll wrap up hour one after this.
This is the LohDown with D-Loh, live on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
Want to take ESPN Southwest Louisiana wherever you go? Download the free ESPN Southwest Louisiana mobile app powered by Moss Motors today. It's your one-stop shop for all things ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles. You can download the app by simply searching ESPN 103.7 Lafayette. That way, no matter where you are, you can listen to Southwest Louisiana Sports Station.
ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles is the proud winner of 4 2026 LAB Prestige Awards, including Best Use of Digital Media, Foot's Friday Fury, Best Live On-Site Remote for our Super Bowl Radio Row coverage, Best Promotion for our No Shave November initiative, and Radio Young Professional of the Year for Dawson Iserloh. We're proud of being Southwest Louisiana's sports station and are humbled to be recognized by the Louisiana Association of Broadcasters.
Did you know you can get great tasting Clear Springs artesian water delivered to your office or your doorstep at home? Clear Springs is 100% local with their own bottling facility at the world-famous Kentwood Aquifer, no chemicals added. Just pure Kentwood, Louisiana artesian water. Clear Springs Water offers delivery of 5 or 3 gallon water service with a hot and cold temperature water cooler or even single-serve bottles delivered to your home or office. Easy to reach, clearsprings.net, then contact us tab or 337-519-3563.
Hello, Acadiana. Cajun Carts is your #1 full-service dealer for new, used, and custom golf carts. Perfect for on the job site, the neighborhood, or even out on the green. We are the only authorized dealer of American-made E-Z-GO and Club Car here in Acadiana. For all your service, sales, and mechanical repairs, we got you. So don't wait. Roll on over to CajunCarts.com or stop by our Lafayette location by the Jockey Lot and see why we've been Louisiana's golf cart headquarters since 2003. Cajun Carts. Why walk when you can ride?
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. It paid for me to be the first person in my family to go to school. That education got me to the first day at my dream job, which I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job and the home loan benefits I got from the Army National Guard helped me buy my first house. I also know that I will be one of the first to respond if my community ever needs me.
Sponsored by the Louisiana Army National Guard, aired by the Louisiana Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Every weeknight, MeTV has your laugh therapy.
To chase away the blues or the olive drabs.
With 2 hours of MASH at 5.
This guy's ankle has tickled my funny bone.
Followed by the Andy Griffith Show at 7.
Doggone it, Otis. You're supposed to be hugging me when I'm arresting you.
But he likes you, Bart.
Weeknights on MeTV.
Watch Meet TV Acadiana on KLWB, over the air on channel 50.1. Check your local cable listings for the channel in your area.
We are Lions International,
the world's largest service organization. We are volunteers committed to strengthening our communities and supporting those in need, one act of kindness at a time. For more than a century, Lions have been serving a world in need, right here in our community and around the world. Lions International makes the impossible possible. This is your invitation to join us, because the only thing missing from our mission to make a difference is you. Visit lionsclubs.org to find a local Lions Club near you.
You're listening to the 2026 LAB Award winner for Radio Young Professional of the Year, Dawson Iserloh, the host of the LohDown with D-Loh on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
Back here on the LohDown as hour number one comes to a close in just a couple minutes. Appreciate Ross Jackson for hopping on with us. We've primarily talked some New Orleans Saints on this edition of the show. We are going to keep that theme going, as I mentioned before, at the bottom of hour number two. We're going to do a D-Loh's Details that is a flashback to a positive moment in Saints history. I've done enough negativity. We're going positive, so that will happen at the bottom of the second hour. Excited to do that. But we are going to switch gears. We'll talk some college football to start the second hour, I think. The jersey sponsorship thing, couple of big ones. You've probably seen the numbers by now. I'll go over them with you, and we'll do a little comparing and contrasting, and I will be an old man yelling at clouds about jerseys, as I've been told before that I am, but it's okay. Some things I think should be kept sacred, and apparently they're not. Poll question of the day, though. I want to at least get it introduced now here before we get rolling with the second hour. What Saints offensive position group are you wanting to see during training camp? Is it the O-line? Is it the receivers? Is it the backs? Or is it all of the above? Of course it's all of the above. If I was picking one, though, of this group, it's the receivers, because I just kind of mentioned that. That's why I asked that question the way I did to Ross. Like, there's so many. Well, okay, Olave, the only real question mark is health, right? As long as he stays out there, we know what he is in this league. The Jordan Tyson thing, like, what could this guy be? Devon Vele, can he stay out there? And we saw those flashes. I mean, he's such a big body receiver. He's got so much ability and talent. Jalen Polk, they traded for. Remember him? Like, is that going to be a thing at all? Do some of those camp standouts, right? I mean, does the legend of Mason Tipton camp standout stuff continue to grow? Who knows? We'll see if that comes back up. That'll be on the bingo card for sure, by the way. I did start to see, I already got one checked off, James. Best shape of his life has already started to appear, and it's only going to get worse from here on out. We're going to hear about roughly 70% of the NFL is going to be in the best shape of their entire lives, right? Which, statistically isn't all that possible, but I guarantee you we'll have those sound bites. So, I'm looking at all of them, but really above all of them is also the DBs. And the funny thing is the receivers and the DBs, of course, go hand in hand, because that's who's going to be going up against each other in a lot of these matchups. And so we always do it, right? If you're running the football great in camp, it's like, is your O-line awesome or is your defense terrible? Well, if these receivers look great, is it like, hey, the Saints just found the next group of pass catchers that's going to help Tyler Shuck unlock a new level? Or is it like, well, it's actually because the DBs suck and the Saints aren't going to be able to stop anybody's passing game all season long? That's going to be the fun battles. That's why camp is fun. Then we get to play real football against other teams at some point. That's when we really figured out. All right, hour one down, hour two coming up. Let's start talking everybody's favorite thing, jersey patch sponsorships.
The heart of Acadiana is its local businesses, the people, families, and companies that help our communities thrive. Here's a message from a proud certified South Louisiana business.
Candyland Cottage is the place to satisfy all your cravings. Find delicious ice creams, fresh fudges, truffles, hot dogs, sausage po' boys, Frito pies, and homemade shakes. Visit us in Scott and Rain for a sweet treat. Plan your next birthday party or field trip at Candyland Cottage.
Shop local, support local. Certified South Louisiana.
It's 9 a.m. You just received a voicemail from your boss.
Hey, Janet. Heads up. We got an important meeting coming up Thursday. The big guys are coming into town, so I need you in charge of lunch, and we've got to look good.
Luckily for Janet, she knows a place, and she knows her boss will be impressed.
Honey Baked Ham can cater your next event. Delicious and freshly sliced deli trays, box lunches with sandwich, chips, and dessert. Or try our fresh salad boxes, and the perfect touch with a meat and cheese tray. Honey Baked Ham Company.
This is your Chiropractic Expert Minute, brought to you by Dr. Quentin Briscoe, D.C., chiropractic physician.
Injured in a car accident? Confused about what to do next? At Briscoe Chiropractic, we have been treating auto accident injuries for almost 2 decades. We focus on the diagnosing and treatment of injuries related to motor vehicle accidents, providing comprehensive care while documenting your injuries. Even minor accidents can cause injuries that may not show up right away. Ignoring these injuries could lead to chronic pain and long-term issues. At Briscoe Chiropractic, we focus on treating accident-related injuries. Our chiropractic care focuses on realigning your spine and reducing pain and helping your body heal naturally. Don't wait until the pain worsens. Early treatment is key to a full recovery.
To schedule an appointment with Briscoe Chiropractic, visit drqmb.com or call 337-534-0091. That's drqmb.com or 337-534-0091. Briscoe Chiropractic, where recovery is no accident.
Live from Upper Lafayette, this is ESPN 1037 KLWB Karen Crow Lafayette, KLCJ-FM Oak Grove Lake Charles 1041, a Delta Media station.
I'm Christine Lisi. Philadelphia's Jalen Carter has reset the NFL's defensive tackle market. He's signing a 4-year, $152 million extension with the Eagles, richest contract for defensive tackle in league history. In terms of guaranteed money and average annual value, Carter's shown during his 3 NFL seasons he can be one of the most impactful defensive players in the game, notes ESPN NFL analyst Herm Edwards.
He's a disruptor. I mean, he can blow things up inside. I mean, and that's the scary part. You got to double him. You can't allow him to just try to single up on it because he can make things very, very bad for offenses. So, they needed to get him, obviously. This is a big part of their team when you think about the Eagles.
Buccaneers quarterback Baker Mayfield is reporting to training camp without a new contract, and he will play out the final year of his deal before becoming an unrestricted free agent. 49ers coach Kyle Shanahan nearly lost an eye as a result of his car crash earlier this month. According to Pro Football Talk co-host Chris Sims, who is one of Shanahan's close friends, Shanahan suffered multiple injuries in that crash. Records show he wasn't at fault.
If you run a small business, you've got to try Gusto. Get unlimited payroll runs and get your payroll taxes filed automatically. Offer health insurance, 401k, and more. Get started for free at gusto.com.
Dawson Iserloh prides himself on taking a deep dive to uncover all the relevant data about the sports and sports teams he loves. And now he's sharing all those facts inside his big brain with all of you. Here is the LohDown with D-Loh on ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
It is the LohDown. It is hour number 2 of 2 here on a Tuesday edition of the show. ESPN 1037 in Lafayette, 1041 in Lake Charles, which we are, by the way, working actively to get back up and on the airwaves. The ESPN Southwest Louisiana mobile app, streaming live on YouTube. We are in a ton of different places these days, so hopefully you're able to tune in with us and hang out with us wherever you may be going on this work day. Talked a lot of Saints in the first hour. Of course, Drew Brees is headed to the Hall of Fame, and we're going to be there for his induction, so that's going to be a focus of us the next couple weeks here. Super excited about that. And we're going to keep that theme going a little bit later on in the hour. At the bottom of the hour, I've got a new edition of D-Loh's Details ready to roll, and I'm going to be going back to a game. So I teased it in the first hour. I'll go ahead and go ahead and give you the game itself. It's the 2017 season, but the game was played in 2018, I do believe. The New Orleans Saints are hosting a wild card playoff game at the Superdome against the Carolina Panthers. That is the game we're going to be reliving. I'll leave out all the other details because that's what the segment's for. But it is a game that ends happily. And you probably know that if you're a Saints fan. So let's relive some good memories. There's a lot of really unique little context points of that contest and that game, the way it went down, that, everybody forgets when you're 8 years removed or something like that. So we'll go back to that. That'll be what we do at the bottom of the hour. Until then, though, we got a chance to get to some other things. We did start with Astros and Angels. We can revisit some Stros stuff at some point, but I want to start with one of the big stories of the day in the sports world, and that is everybody's favorite jersey patch sponsorship sales, right? So, as you all likely know by now, the NCAA approved the sale of sponsor patches on collegiate athletic jerseys starting with this academic calendar year. It's of course, it's not like everybody has them yet, because similar to the way it happened when the NBA allowed them, not everybody was able to sell them right away. You're thinking about, it's such a big thing. You don't want to get locked into a deal. And I think a lot of teams kind of want to see what the other deals look like before they, make their move. Same thing like, hey, should we sign our receiver now, or should we wait and see what the market looks like? And so all those things have kind of been coming through and different stuff. So, we've seen some teams do it. LSU was actually one of the first, and it sounds like basically they had theirs done kind of beforehand, right? Or at least had the handshake agreement, like, hey, this is something we'd like to do when and if it becomes allowed. So they signed theirs with Woodside Energy. I was trying to look into the numbers of it, and I don't have like an actual number. Multi-million-dollar is what's been reported out there, and like what's been officially said, but I don't have a number. It says the deal, in February, and a Sponsor United article said it sits at $4.6 million annually, okay? And that's for all 21 varsity sports at LSU. That was like, whoa, that's a pretty big number. Like, wow, almost $5 million a year. Like, okay. Then, some other teams have made deals. Obviously, the bigger brands are going to get bigger amounts. We get that. It's how the market works. The Big 12 came out with this Monster Energy thing where every school was going to get like $1 million. Now, I do think one thing got misconstrued with the Monster Energy deal. People thought the way it was worded was like, hey, Monster gets to be everybody's jersey patch sponsor. And so those schools then can't sell their own sponsorship, right? They just take the $1 million from Monster. That's actually not true. Monster's logo is going to be incorporated with the Big 12 conference logo. So like BYU, Cincinnati, Kansas, whoever school, they can still sell their own additional sponsor patch on the opposite side of the jersey. It's just that they also have this Big 12 Monster Energy patch thing. So whatever. They got made fun of a lot. I get it. But that was for $1 million per school per year, I guess, something like that. Enter the big dogs, Ohio State and Notre Dame, and they are going to make even LSU's jersey sponsor patch deal look pretty small with what they were able to come up with. And it's two of the biggest companies in the world that actually are the ones that get these deals. So Ohio State's deal is with J.P. Morgan Chase. All 36 OSU teams, so that's, men's and women's. So, that's why LSU said 21. That wasn't counting each one separately. Ohio State is getting $17 million per year to put the Chase Bank logo on all their uniforms. $17 million a year. Remember, LSU's deal, one of the premier brands in college athletics, I'm not suggesting that they aren't, netted them reportedly less than $5 million a year. But as I said, maybe that's one of those things that's like a negative of being the first to the party, because LSU was so early on. When LSU's sitting down with Woodside Energy, what are they comparing this to, right? NBA sponsor patches? Well, that's difficult to do. The value of those franchises, the value of those games, that's just difficult to compare. NFL doesn't do it for game jerseys. They do have sponsor patches for practice jerseys, but we know the NFL money is crazy. So what do you compare it to? LSU comes out with a deal that they probably feel like looks great at the time, and now Ohio State gets $17 million a year from Chase to put their logo on the jersey patch. And Pete Thamel reported this morning, by the way, and said, quote, an eye-popping number that's expected to be an industry leader. Well, it was the industry leader for a couple of hours, and then Notre Dame entered the chat. Notre Dame has their jersey sponsor patch, courtesy of our guy Ross Dellinger reporting it, friend of the show. SoFi is on board with the Irish. The company that sponsors like the Spaceship Stadium in Los Angeles? Yeah, that's SoFi. And their deal is an average of between $18 and $20 million annually. So you go from $4.6 million with LSU. There's been some other ones as well. I don't have the data of every jersey patch deal in front of me, and a lot of it isn't like fully public. This is all reported stuff. to $17 million at Ohio State to now reportedly $18 to $20 million at Notre Dame. And SoFi will be going on the jersey. So let's be an old man and yell at clouds for a bit. I just don't love the way this is going to look. And it's purely, it's a completely like selfish way to look at it, I guess. It's aesthetics. Because if I tried to make the claim like, hey, man, we're not making it about the game, about the teams, about the pageantry, about the love of the game, I guess I could say that, but we know the players are paid. We know the coaches get ridiculous amount of money. We know they put sponsorship on everything else, right? It's all around the stadium. It's on the stadium's name. It's on the field, which I wasn't a huge fan of that either. But it's like, all right, at what point do you have to go, they just need money? And that's the bottom line, right? These programs need money. Now, you can argue if we had approached this in a better way and come into this, the paying of players with the idea of salary caps, and maybe, if you say, hey, well, it's not fair, maybe the coaches are included in that salary cap as well, right? Maybe there's a program cap. However way you would have sliced it, then maybe these programs wouldn't be desperate for this money and you wouldn't have had to do it, but they were, and they are, so the NCAA said, we'll throw you a bone. I do think it'd be nice if we kept these jerseys as one place where we don't have to throw sponsorship everywhere. I do think for a long time, ironically enough, there's a lot of stuff that Americans that we do where other countries and cultures look down on us, right? Like the fat American stereotype thing, the unhealthy, the corporate, hey, it's all just, it's all about capitalism. They don't care about anything else. The one thing we had on the darn Europeans was that we didn't put sponsors all over our jerseys. And we were like, man, look at that. All your soccer teams look like billboards. Y'all suck. We're better. And now we lost that one edge we had over them, man. So that's unfortunate. And it does remind me of this. So I've said this before. When the MLB decided that they were going to go ahead and allow this, hey, let's go. Yep, fine. The NBA's doing it. We need some money, even though they didn't. But, they all think they need money because millionaires and billionaires like to be more wealthy than they already are. All right, you can sell a jersey patch on the sleeve. Do what you want. And so a lot of teams did it. I thought, and I said at the time, I was like, well, there's no way the Yankees are going to do it because the pinstripes are so sacred. You can't put anything on the pinstripe. We'll never change the uniform. We retire everybody's jersey. You can't wear any single digits. You can't, we've got all, we no mustaches. We got all this facial hair rules. We are the New York Yankees, and the pinstripes are sacred, right? The great line from one of my favorite movies of all time, Catch Me If You Can, where, he says the Yankees win all the time because everybody can't stop staring at the pinstripes, right? So I thought to myself, surely, maybe it'll happen eventually, but I thought the Yankees are going to hold on as long as they can. They're going to say, you know what? No, we don't want your money. We don't need your money. We're the Yankees. We're rich anyway. We're keeping the pinstripes plain and beautiful. And guess what? They did it before like half the league did. And they have Star on there. I don't even know what that company is. Insurance, I guess, something like that. They got a big old ugly patch on their sleeve. So when the New York Yankees folded to it that quickly, I was like, well, I guess this is happening. I still did have the thought, I was like, man, like would people lose their minds if Alabama put a sponsor on that, that prestigious jersey, even though, it's all plain and stuff, but that's how they like it, right? Hey, because it's about the history and it's about Bear Bryant. And we got the numbers on the helmets and we only wear 2 uniforms. We wear crimson at home. We wear white on the road. That's it. And Notre Dame, another one. It's about the Irish, right? We don't put anything on the helmet. We just wear gold sparkly helmets because we don't need a logo because everybody knows who Notre Dame is. And when the money's right, obviously I knew this wasn't going to end up holding up for long, but there you have it. So that is my official Yelling at Clouds statement of the day. I don't enjoy jersey sponsorship patches, and I don't appreciate the commercialization of athletics, but we're here, and we've been here for a long time. The NFL, look, it's going to happen at some point. I actually do appreciate the NFL is being what I thought the New York Yankees would be. Goodell is like, not yet. We're not ruining that pageantry of our, the aesthetics of our uniforms yet. We're keeping it around. Remember, that's why they had so many. Like, I know people scoffed at them, like, wait a minute, why can't you have an alternate helmet? And why can you only wear alternates this many times? Because the NFL clearly had a real big-time passion about keeping their brands and their imaging and their, everything about the NFL, keeping it sacred. And like, hey, when someone turns on the TV, we want them to know immediately that the Chicago Bears are playing the Green Bay Packers. We don't want anybody to be, and as I've joked before, last year, I turned on an NBA game, and I went, is that Milwaukee playing? And it was Denver. And I was like, wait, what color is that? And, look, I like to think of myself as an intelligent human being. So, I'll figure it out eventually. I'll figure out who's on the TV. But the NFL cares about that clearly a lot more than the other sports do. So, anyway, I don't even know what my point is at this point, but there you go. $17 million a year for Ohio State. 18 to $20 million a year for Notre Dame. I think we still, you start to think, well, who could possibly even get more than that? I think Texas is still on the board. I don't think Texas has their sponsor yet lined up. So is that one going to command more than $20 million that Notre Dame's getting? Could you see somebody else? Those are the brands, right? I mean, who else would really command that much? I don't know. So we'll wait and see. But there you have it. Those programs have a little extra cash to spend this fall, I guess. All right, we'll take a break. We'll continue on with the show after this. We've got some other things. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of around Major League Baseball. We'll go some big storylines in the major leagues in between segments here. That's after this timeout on the LohDown.
This is the LohDown with D-Loh, live on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
Drew Brees rewrote the NFL record books as he helped lead the New Orleans Saints to a Super Bowl victory. Now number 9 will slip on the gold jacket, have his bronze bust revealed, and be immortalized in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. RP3, myself, and James Mesh will be there live in Canton, Ohio to witness it all, and we've got a live 3-hour special show coming at you from the Hall of Fame. It's Friday, August the 7th from noon to 3 p.m. It's the gold standard, we're calling it. It's presented by Beal and Hebert, Acadiana's hometown lawyers. It's right here on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette, 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
Make sure to set your alarm and tune in Saturday mornings at 10 o'clock for Sports Shorts here on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles. Join me, Ronnie Rance, and the Sports Shorts team of Tommy Christsan, Hunter McCann, and the crazy man, Joel Davis, as we break down the sports and teams that you love. The LSU Tigers, New Orleans Saints, and everything in between. Tune in Saturday mornings from 10 to noon for Sports Shorts here on Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
You want to feel important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Louisiana Army National Guard. Aired by the Louisiana Association of Broadcasters and this station.
MeTV is America's #1 classic entertainment television network. And here's one of the reasons everybody loves MeTV.
Oh, it's a classic.
The great comedy lineup on weeknights.
This will be fun. Come on.
With MASH.
Loaded with snappy comebacks.
The Andy Griffith Show.
I was just funning with Barney.
And Everybody Loves Raymond.
Now we got a show.
Watch MeTV Acadiana on KLWB, over the air on Channel 50.1. Check your local cable listings for the channel in your area.
What is dementia? Is it the same as Alzheimer's? What is vascular dementia, Lewy body, FTD, TBI, and CTE? If someone has memory loss, does that mean they have dementia? Millions of Americans ask these questions every day. I did too, and I learned. My wife Ginny developed dementia. I didn't know what to do or what was coming next. I'm Kevin Jameson, volunteer and president of the Dementia Society of America. I'm excited to offer you a free guide to understanding dementia. It's filled with facts about dementia, care planning, how doctors can help, and ways to keep your brain as healthy as possible. The Dementia Society of America is a national nonprofit, and we're ready to answer your questions. You want to live life to the fullest. I know that. Ginny did too, and I'm confident that we can help. Get your copy of the guide. Go to 1-800-DEMENTIA.org or call 1-800-DEMENTIA. Thank you.
Do you know a veteran in need? Nation's Finest, through the VA's Supportive Services for Veteran Families program, helps veterans and their families struggling with rent, employment, and other housing-related costs. Today, Nation's Finest operates more than 30 locations in California, Arizona, and Nevada, helping thousands of veterans every year. Visit nationsfinest.org or call 1-833-468-9676. That's 1-833-468-9676.
This is ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, broadcasting live from the Beal and Hebert studios in Upper Lafayette. Beal and Hebert, Acadiana's hometown lawyers. Back to more of Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
So I had a few minutes here, a little open segment that I left open on the rundown, and I thought, you know what, let's go through some Major League Baseball for the day, right? So what's going on? We've got Guardians and Reds playing live right now, 5-5 in the top of the fifth, so the number 5 is relevant in that game. Chase Burns was on the mound for Cincinnati, or is on the mound, and he's given up 5 runs in this game, but only one of them was earned. Burns, by the way, 12-1 with a 2.33 ERA entering this start. So that ERA has only gone up a little bit because, as I mentioned, it's a bunch of unearned runs. It was a very, very costly error by the Reds defense that allowed Cleveland to get 4 in the first. But that game's 5-5. Anyway, all the other action will be later on. Braves-Mets was supposed to be tonight. That one has already been postponed. So RP3 will have to wait a day to see what he hopes is his Braves crush one of his least favorite teams in the world, the New York Mets. Already told you about the Stros and their win last night, so they're 2 back. We'll see Texas and Seattle are, locked up in that series. Actually, I shouldn't say that. They are finished with it. They finished that series on a Monday, rather unique. And so the Rangers head to Tampa tonight, and they'll face the first-place Tampa Bay Rays, while the Mariners are playing the Dodgers in L.A. So there's a real chance here with both the Mariners and Rangers playing first-place opponents and the Astros playing a last-place Angels team for Houston to make up some ground potentially the rest of this week. And, I mean, by the end of the week, they could be sitting atop the division if things go their way, as we mentioned before. And I did this the other day. The Astros 5 games above 500 against teams with a winning record, making them 7 games below 500 against teams with a losing record. They are trying to turn some of that stuff around. Around baseball, of course, the Shohei Ohtani stuff has been a little bit of an attention grabber, this extra podcast, which I still need to go ahead and listen to the entirety of it, but was Shohei Ohtani like 100% clean and innocent from this gambling scandal? I have a hard time believing he didn't know anything about it at all. Was he the main culprit? Was the translator actually the guy who was doing some shady stuff? My general feeling is probably, but yeah, was there some backroom deals to try and make sure Ohtani got out of this thing clean, given how big a superstar he is? I wouldn't doubt that. I'm very hesitant on conspiracy theories, but I don't think it's completely out of the question that some of that stuff might have went down. Do I think Major League Baseball is going to do anything about it with this new finding or these new reports? Probably not. But we'll have to wait and see. Ohtani, by the way, having another MVP caliber season, although his pitching has been derailed by injury. He's been mostly just swinging the stick for the Dodgers, who, as you might expect, are running away with a first-place lead. Otherwise, around the big leagues, Cody Bellinger's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks for the Yankees with a hamstring strain. That could be significant to them. The Giants lost third baseman Casey Schmidt with a knee injury. It's been a rough year for the Giants, and Tony Vitello, of course, former Tennessee head coach, now managing that club. The Cubs DFA Jameson Taillon for assignment, who's had a crazy career. He's returned from cancer, a guy you can root for pretty easily, but signed a 4-year, $68 million deal, by the way, in 2023, because had shown real signs of being back to himself after returning from cancer, but unfortunately hasn't gone his way, and the Cubs are going to likely move on from him. And then how about this? One of my favorite quotes of the day. The Marlins ended a 12-game losing streak, and their manager, Clayton McCullough, gave a quote that said he likened their end of their losing streak to the Odyssey. I feel a bit like Odysseus, he said, like I'm away from home for 10 years. At some point, I'm going to return home. I don't know what baseball got I infuriated, but it's where we're at, so today is an opportunity. He said that before the game, actually. and then they got their win. And now we'll see if anything changes for them. They have been up against it. And it was a season for Miami that had a lot of people excited about what they were building down there. At times competing for first place in the division. Before that 12-game losing streak, they were sitting at 52-42, 10 games above 500, right in the mix in the NL East, not maybe contending for the division lead with the Braves, but right there in the mix for the wild card spot. Well, it was a brutal month of July for them, and now they actually sit 2 games out of the wild card after being comfortably in it for so long this season. The Phillies, how about this? 7 games above 500 despite a negative 12 run differential. Currently occupy the second spot in the wildcard standings. And along those same lines, the Miami Marlins, +3 is the run differential, but they're a game below 500. They've got the best run differential of any National League team that actually sits below 500. That mark, though, on the American League side, I just think run differential is fascinating because in theory, it's one of your best ways to kind of, calculate out who's playing well and who isn't. The Detroit Tigers are a bit of a statistical anomaly. Run differential of +25, which expected wins and losses for those. I'm going off the rails here, a lot of technical terms, but if you're a baseball fan, you probably got me here. Expected wins and losses basically takes your run differential and goes, hey, what's your record expected to be if that was normal? And so the Tigers are 50-57 overall, but their expected win-loss record is 56-51. So despite being 7 games below 500, if they had just kind of averaged out and basically won some of the close games that they've lost, they'd be 5 games above 500. The White Sox still lead that division, by the way. Cleveland was challenging them for a bit and now has lost 5 in a row. So Chicago, despite not playing their best baseball right now, still leads the Central by 2 games. Shout out Jim Gazzolo's Fighting Chicago White Sox for hanging around and being relevant at this time of the season. The last big storyline, of course, in the big leagues right now is what's the trade deadline going to bring? I don't know, unprecedented is an overused word, so we won't use that, but unique, I think, is fair. Considering there's a labor stoppage that we all assume is coming at the end of the season. So if you sign a player, or if you trade for a player, I should say, who's got 2 years left on his deal, well, what if we don't play baseball next year? What if we play half a season? Are you going to give up a significant prospect or two to acquire a player that could help you for half a season and then who knows? Like, I imagine more so than ever, and this is just my own speculation, the bulk of the players we see traded at the deadline this year that are like significant trades, of really good players, I think are going to be on rentals. Guys who are just signed through the end of the year, who are going to be free agents at the season's end. Because those are the players that you go, hey, we know we're going to get the most out of our investment here. We know we're going to get a player for half a season, which, generally makes the price go down in the first place. But then again, if teams know that the other players are going to cost, different levels of prospect capital in return because of a potential labor stoppage, maybe those rentals would actually get more expensive. It's interesting, man. If you're into the whole GM, what's a player worth, trade value type thing, if you're an avid fantasy football player and you like to think in the way of a GM, observing this trade deadline is going to be fascinating in the world of Major League Baseball. All right, we shall take a timeout now. D-Loh's details on the other side. We're going to talk Saints and a playoff victory. We're going to flash things back to a better time, at least a time where I had less responsibilities. That's 2017. That's next.
This is the Lowdown with D-Loh, live on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
This game isn't fun. This game is a war.
It's time for the 2-minute drill.
Hurry it up, hurry it up, hurry it up.
Powered by B1 Bank. Visit b1bank.com to find a location near you.
Come on, let's go, you guys. Get in here, we gotta go fast now.
The Houston Astros returned to AL West action with a 6-4 win over the Los Angeles Angels last night in Anaheim. Even with the win, Tetsuya Imai had a rough outing, only going 2/3 of an inning, issuing 1 run on 2 hits with 4 walks. Game 2 will be tonight, and it'll be Peter Lambert versus Reed Detmers on the mound. First pitch is at 8:38 p.m. in Anaheim, and you can listen to it on our sister station, News Talk 98.5 FM and 1520 AM. Around the AL West tonight, the Texas Rangers will take on the Tampa Bay Rays, the Boston Red Sox will play the Athletics, and the Seattle Mariners will take on the Los Angeles Dodgers. In the standings, Houston sits only 2 games back of first place Texas. Also in some news for the Houston Astros, shortstop Jeremy Pena was named the AL Player of the Week for his efforts last week. He hit 506 games with 5 home runs and 8 RBI. North Carolina has placed football GM Michael Lombardi on administrative leave effective immediately after an investigation has begun on the football program by the College Sports Commission. The decision comes after a complaint was filed against Lombardi by a former staffer, although no further details are available at this time. Former LSU Tiger Jamal Adams is heading to the NFC North to play for the Minnesota Vikings for his 10th season in the NFL. The former number 6 overall pick spent last season with the Las Vegas Raiders, where he transitioned to linebacker and played in all 17 games, totaling 45 tackles, 1 sack, and 1 forced fumble.
I'm Blake Purser, and you're listening to ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, your home for the LSU Tigers and the Houston Astros.
The 2-minute drill has been powered by B1 Bank. Visit b1bank.com to find a location near you. Drew Brees set a new standard for quarterback play, and now the Saints legend will be immortalized in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. RP3, D-Loh, and Mesh will be there for this historic occasion with a special 3-hour live broadcast from Canton, Ohio. Tune in Friday, August 7th for the Gold Standard. Presented by Beal & Hebert, Acadiana's hometown lawyers. Right here on ESPN, 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles. Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
Attention first responders, police officers, firefighters, military and former military personnel. If you have an acre or more of grass to cut, Skag Zero-Turn Mowers would like to thank you by offering you a special discount with their Simply the Brave First Responders program. Save big money on the industry's top-rated zero-turn mower at Nolan's Lawnmower in Carencro. Nolan's can offer well-qualified buyers 0% financing for 48 months. Come by Nolan's Lawnmower at 3547 northwest of Evangeline Thruway and check out the full line of Skag zero-turn lawnmowers.
Curious about that old coin collection in your drawer? Then don't miss the Lafayette Coin Show, coming to the Cajun Dome September 11th to 12th. The Lafayette Coin Show bringing collectors, dealers, and enthusiasts from across the region to buy, sell, and trade rare coins, paper money, and more. Free appraisals, unique finds, connect with knowledgeable coin experts. The Lafayette Coin Show September 11th to 12th at the Cajun Dome. Explore history, value, and treasure, all under one roof. Don't miss it.
We are the soldiers of the Louisiana Army National Guard. We are your neighbors. We are your sons and daughters. While we serve part-time, we are learning valuable life and job skills. We are earning money for college, for trade and technical schools, and for certifications. We are proud to serve both our country and our home state. We are your Louisiana Army National Guard.
Sponsored by the Louisiana Army National Guard. Aired by the Louisiana Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Your Honor, I would like to introduce exhibit number 1.
MeTV is America's #1 classic television network.
There can only be one number 1, me.
MeTV features over 60 of the greatest classic TV series each week.
Go with the winner.
Enjoy dramas, comedies, westerns, sci-fi, and more.
You just watch me.
Watch MeTV Acadiana on KLWB over the air on channel 50.1. Check your local cable listings for the channel in your area.
MeTV is memorable entertainment television.
School sports are played by humans, coached by humans, and officiated by humans. So the next time you're sitting in the stands at a school athletic event, please remember this and maintain your humanity, especially when it comes to judging and critiquing athletes, coaches, and officials. Please show your fellow humans some respect. They'll appreciate your empathy.
This message presented by the LHSAA and the Louisiana High School Athletic Directors Association.
Dawson Iserloh is always watching games, but maybe not the way the average fan does. Take a trip inside the mind of D-Loh with D-Loh's Details.
All right, we're back at it. It is D-Loh's Details. Man, been a little bit. I said I wanted to do a couple more of these this summer, and now's as good a time as ever. We're towards the end of July. Exciting things on the horizon for us. Obviously, it was now announced that we are headed to Drew Brees' Hall of Fame induction next week in Canton, the live 3-hour special show. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. And so that was part of the inspiration behind today's segment. We have done a couple, and I did a couple heartbreakers, right? I put you all through my recap of some of the Saints' losses that have stuck with me. And so I said, you know what? Let's do a better memory. Let's do something positive here. How about a playoff victory? So we're going to go back in time to a Saints playoff victory in the year 2017. I think this game was actually played in 18, but this is the 17 season. This is, of course, the season that will ultimately end with the Minneapolis Miracle, which is not a good memory. But the way they got there was better, right? So the Saints are hosting the Carolina Panthers. Let's go back in time, and let's get into it. All right, my first note here is Brees still got it. Had that written down really before play even started. I just want to remind people how good he was in this era. This is where the arm, as you all likely, most of you remember, the arm was still there to an extent. I mean, he wasn't slinging it downfield all the time, but he still had enough to press the ball down the field a little bit. But also he was as precise as ever. Michael Thomas is coming into his own as an elite receiver in the NFL in this time frame. This was a fun Saints offense, and they had Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. This is, the early emergence of Kamara when he's starting to become a real player in this league. My second note is I still feared Cam Newton at this point, and I think a lot of the league did. Look, I was not a fan of Cam Newton at all. Quite the opposite. Couldn't stand him throughout his NFL career. Of course, played for Carolina, so that didn't help things. Had a buddy of mine. You ever have had a buddy of mine who was a Saints fan but also loved Cam Newton for some reason and so therefore rooted for the Panthers basically anytime they played anyone other than the Saints throughout this whole time frame. So he made my disdain for Cam Newton even more because we were like, why are you rooting for this guy? He's trying to beat us. He's our biggest problem in the division right now. Anyway, that's besides the point. I will say, looking back at it now, right? Obviously, now that the nightmare's over and Cam's not hurting us anymore, he's the type of quarterback I'd build in a lab, man. I mean, that goes without saying. He's a freak of nature at the position. But, look, there may be, you could always critique, was the touch as a passer ever, all the way where it needed to be? Maybe not. But the guy won an MVP for a reason. The guy played in a Super Bowl for a reason. And carried, by the way, a not great Carolina offense through the prime of his career. I will say, for all the, I'm not looking for excuses for Cam Newton, and I certainly wasn't while he was playing. But he is an example of a guy who really just never got a great offense built around him where you could take some of the pressure off of him. And to be honest with you, when you look at Cam's career being maybe shorter than it could have been, yes, one of it is because he played with such a physical nature and he wanted to run you over, and so that was part of it. Two, I think, again, the precise passing wasn't quite there, so when he lost some of that physical ability, he wasn't able to keep up with it with maybe being a better passer. But another one is that he had to carry the load for this team more so than not because they didn't have great playmakers around him for the most part. Christian McCaffrey, yes. I mean, Greg Olsen was still a really good tight end, but I went through it in this game too. I was sitting there going, who would you have called the number one receiver on this roster? And I the best I can come up with is Devin Funchess. I think Devin Funchess was the number one receiver on this Carolina Panthers offense. So anyway, definitely still feared Cam at this point in his career. The Saints, it's just one of those funny things to look back, and I think it's a nice reminder that no team is perfect, right? When you look back at some of these great Saints teams in history, great teams of any kind, right? You can find a position or two where you go, that's who they had rolling out there on a championship caliber team. And I know this Saints team didn't win a Super Bowl, but they certainly, I think, were talented enough to. Ken Crawley was cornerback number 2. This Saints defensive back room had Marshawn Lattimore, and then the next man up was Ken Crawley. And so, you know what? I was watching this game back this morning, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't be as down on the Saints defensive back room in 2026. Ken Crawley, playoff cornerback, played on this team. He got abused in this game at times. He did make a couple big plays, though. Obviously, he got picked on a good bit because Lattimore was locking down whoever the Panthers wanted to pretend was their number one option at the receiver position, right? McCaffrey and Olsen ended up being the main targets. And look, the first drive, you already get an example of why I think Cam just had too much on his shoulders. He drops a dime to, I believe, Keelan Clay. Again, Keelan Clay, not a name you're probably super familiar with at the receiver position, and that was their number 2 option in this game at receiver. Back corner of the end zone is a third down play. It's an awesome throw from Cam. Like, it's on the money. This is going to be a touchdown to put the Panthers up 7-0. He can't come down with it. And then Graham Gano misses a chip shot 25-yarder, which Gano had missed one field goal the entire year going into that kick. Missed a chip shot. Saints caught a break early on in this game. The amount of cover 1 and cover 0 that I saw in this looking back, and it was just a different time. I think this is right before, the cover 2 shell thing started to be really, really popular, where teams were just, trying to prevent things over the top. But it also, I think, was a product of teams didn't fear Drew Brees' arm, right? And they felt like, hey, this guy's so precise and accurate underneath and in the intermediate range. He doesn't have a great deep ball, so let's pressure. Let's put our, man-to-man coverage on these receivers. Let's try and get as many defensive backs in the box in that 20-yard area as possible and see if we can defend it. They still really couldn't because Drew Brees was Drew Brees. But, as I mentioned before, the arm was there but not fully there. The next note I have is Ken Crawley got burnt by Keelan Clay. Now, that's not an ideal thing to write down, but as I said, it's a reminder these teams aren't perfect. And so in a playoff matchup, you had that battle going on. Two guys who, I think Crawley was probably in the league longer than Clay, but neither one of which had these great NFL careers. But they were important in this playoff matchup. Touchdown Josh Hill, who I once met at a wedding. I had to get that in there for no other reason other than it was a cool moment. I was at a wedding one time in New Orleans, and it was actually a very good friend of mine who I still talk to this day. And, we're sitting down to eat, and, we're, as you do maybe at a wedding, right? It was kind of community seating, so we're talking to people. Hey, how do you know the groom? How do you know the bride? And one of them was Josh Hill. And then I went to the groom later and was like, why did you not tell us you're friends with Josh Hill? And he was like, oh, yeah, I guess I never mentioned that, did I? I was like, okay. So hung out with Josh Hill for one night. Haven't talked to him since, but we were great friends, at least on that evening. And he scored in this game, so that was cool. Former SMU running back Zach Line also scored for the Saints in this game, which is, it's such a Saints classic, especially in the Drew Brees era. Touchdowns scored by largely irrelevant players. Now, Josh Hill had a nice Saints career, but Zach Line was a running back at SMU, and he was awesome. One of my favorite things that happens is, well, it doesn't really happen anymore because the fullback position's kind of dying, but when, awesome college football running backs who really weren't quite fast enough to play running back in the NFL are just like, what if I put on 20 pounds and become a fullback? And I guess you could argue, the Jacob Hester path, and Zach Line did the same thing. And Zach Line scored a touchdown for the Saints in this game. New Orleans is up 21-9 at the half. Carolina couldn't convert in the red zone. As I said before, probably largely due to the fact that they just didn't have great playmakers on the outside. The Saints put a ton of attention on McCaffrey and Greg Olsen. And, I think also had a really good plan for Cam's legs in this game. In the second half, again, what a random set of circumstances that this game included. Taylor Stallworth, who was a journeyman defensive tackle, was never a key player on the Saints roster, but, was a rotational piece at this point. This was the game where his wife went into labor, and Aaron Andrews came on with the live report. This was a Fox broadcast with Joe Buck on the call and Aaron Andrews on the sideline, and she goes on and tells the audience that Taylor Stallworth's wife is now in labor, and then she adds in, I am now responsible for telling him, so let me go do that. And Joe Buck, I don't even know if he really knew how to handle it. He was like, okay, that's interesting. Jonathan Stewart carries for a gain of 8, and the broadcast rolled on, so that was hilarious, I thought. By the way, one of my favorite things, another footnote from this game that I came across, and look, almost any football game you watch, one of my favorite things is when players come from all the way across the field when a fumble happens and there's a big pileup, and they have legitimately zero idea who might be at the bottom of that pile with the football, but they're just going to aggressively point the way of their team like that's going to somehow impact the officials' ruling of who has the football. It's one of my favorites, and that happened a couple times in this game. I already told you about Devin Funchess being their wide receiver 1. I wrote it again because I was like, they really did not go into this season having anyone other than Funchess in that room, thinking maybe they needed some more help for their star quarterback. But either way, the next thing I have, Alvin Kamara was largely a non-factor in this game. Ironically enough, he did score a short touchdown later on in the second half. It was a 2-yard run, but this was that year. It's obviously the rookie year, and so they're still kind of figuring out where he fits in. And Carolina had Kuechly, and they had some guys up front. So the Saints' running game really wasn't great in this entire game regardless, either Ingram or Kamara, except for a couple of, pop plays here and there. But I was noticing going back, I'm like, man, it's a lot of Michael Thomas. It's a lot of Breeze kind of trying to carve things up. Breeze threw the deep shot to Ted Ginn where he needed every ounce of his arm that wasn't great at this time, as I mentioned. But not a whole lot of the running game, not a whole lot of dynamic stuff from Kamara. McCaffrey then has that angle route, which is one of the prettiest angle routes I've ever seen run. And Newton hit him in stride. He scored like a 60-yard touchdown. That got Carolina back in the game and is part of the reason that I thought the Saints were going to lose this game inside of a minute left. Let me paint the picture for you. The Saints have, played a little bit of a sloppy second half defensively, given up some points, but they are up by 5. It's 31-26. Panthers have the football driving late. And Cam Newton steps up and throws an absolute dart right sideline to Keelan Clay, who makes the catch. He didn't catch everything this day, but he caught this one. 58 seconds left. They're out of bounds. They're at the 30-ish yard line. They're in field goal range, but obviously field goal range is not going to matter because they need a touchdown being down 5. And at this point in time, I was pretty certain I was about to watch a Saints loss. And you know what's sad? Us Saints fans have this programmed in our brain. You might have thought this yourself when you're watching this one. Maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing if they score right now so that Breeze still has 45-odd seconds to go back down the other way. That's the problem with the 2014 to 2016 Saints defenses that we got programmed incorrectly. Fortunately, though, that's not what happens. The Saints' pressure starts getting to Cam. He made a couple bad throws. He got called for intentional grounding. And then 4th and 23, they have to just basically take a shot to the end zone, or they would have had to throw a super deep kind of corner route or something to try and get a first down and get out of bounds. And the Saints bring pressure. They blitz Von Bell. He sacks Cam. And it was a reminder. I remember after this game, everybody was like, what a brilliant defensive call to blitz and not just let him sit back there, not play 8 back. But I will say, I think this is one of the decision you make whether or not to bring some pressure or just sit back in full coverage on and I'm not talking on an entire drive to end the game. I'm talking on a do or die 4th down play. If Cam Newton evades Von Bell, buys some time, flips it down to the end zone, and the Panthers have a numbers advantage on the receivers versus the DBs in the end zone, nobody would be saying what a brilliant call to blitz. But since Von Bell came in untouched and sacked Cam Newton, it's a great call. I do generally prefer putting a little pressure on him. I think allowing these quarterbacks to roll around, set their feet, allowing the receivers to get down there, start jockeying for position, I think that's generally worse than let's make sure, even if he gets this throw off to the end zone, let's make sure we make it difficult for him. I think that's the better way to go about it. But anyway, I did just think if that throw gets down there and the Saints don't have a ton of DBs back in coverage because they blitzed, everybody's going to be like, what an idiotic call. But that's how this thing works. Von Bell sacks Cam Newton. One of the most satisfying-looking defensive plays in the history of the franchise, in my opinion. Gosh, it was so, again, the hatred for Cam Newton with the Saints fan base at this time, when he's at the peak of his powers. He is an MVP-caliber player at this point. They got some pretty good hits on him in this game, too. I know some of them were, controversial. But, I never fully felt sympathy for Cam because it was hey, Cam doesn't get the same calls that other quarterbacks get. And it's yeah, because he's 260 pounds and he'll run you over on the goal line. So if he's able to do that and allowed to do that, then yeah, he's not going to get the same roughing the passer call as somebody like Tom Brady who stands back there and can't run and won't run. That's the give and the take, right? And I think it's kind of bled over. There's been some of that with I think Josh Allen should not get as the same number of calls as, and nowadays, right, you're kind of struggling to find out who your pocket passers are. But if Josh Allen's willing to run over guys in the open field, then I think Josh Allen has to be willing to live with the fact that he's not going to get quite as many roughing the passer calls as somebody who's maybe a little bit more content just standing back there. Maybe like a C.J. Stroud even, right? A guy who doesn't run a ton and certainly doesn't try to run over you. But anyway, I do remember that being a side note to this game because Cam took a bunch of big hits and didn't really get any calls. But that last one was satisfying. Von Bell, wearing number 48 at the time, was just always a good, never great Saints player. Of course, he moved on after the fact, but in that moment, he was a hero. So the Saints would win this game 31-26. They would move on to the divisional round. And we're not going to talk about what happened in the divisional round, at least not on today's show. So there you have it, another edition of D-Loh's Details. I hope you enjoyed this trip down memory lane. There will be plenty of trips down memory lane next week as we head to Canton for Drew Brees' Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Remember, 3-hour live special.
the Golden Standard, myself, RP3, Mesh. It's a reunion of sorts for our old show, although it's not officially called that. It's just going to be 3 hours combining our efforts, talking good times and talking to big-time guests. We can't wait. So tune in for that. For now, we'll take a break. We've got plenty more coming up. You're listening to The LohDown, ESPN Southwest Louisiana Sports Station.
This is The LohDown with D-Loh, live on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
With storm season having arrived, ESPN 103.7 Lafayette, 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station, and Mid-South Power Solutions in Crowley bring you these hurricane safety tips. Make sure to secure your home and bring in outdoor items before the storm makes landfall. Have an emergency kit stocked with water, food, and medications. Know your evacuation routes and listen to local authorities. You can stay informed with a battery-powered radio, but of course, you're going to make sure you want to have fresh batteries and the right kind of batteries beforehand. Remember, safety is in your hands. These hurricane preparedness tips are powered by Mid-South Power Solutions in Crowley. Your local Generac dealer. Visit midsouthpowersolutions.com.
ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles is the proud winner of 4 2026 LAB Prestige Awards, including Best Use of Digital Media, Foot's Friday Fury, Best Live On-Site Remote for our Super Bowl Radio Row coverage, Best Promotion for our No Shave November initiative, and Radio Young Professional of the Year for Dawson Iserloh. We're proud of being Southwest Louisiana's sports station and are humbled to be recognized by the Louisiana Association of Broadcasters.
The best businesses aren't just businesses, they're neighbors. Here's a message from a proud certified South Louisiana business.
Bro Bridge Truck Stop Casino. They have the newest games around. Hot seat drawings and monthly specials like no one else. Located on the Bro Bridge Highway and on the banks of the Vermilion River. Come out today and try your luck at the Bro Bridge Truck Stop Casino.
When you support local businesses, you strengthen the communities we call home. Shop local, support local, certified South Louisiana.
Did you know you can get great tasting Clear Springs artesian water delivered to your office or your doorstep at home? Clear Springs is 100% local with their own bottling facility at the world-famous Kentwood Aquifer, no chemicals added. Just pure Kentwood, Louisiana artesian water. Clear Springs Water offers delivery of 5 or 3 gallon water service with a hot and cold temperature water cooler or even single-serve bottles delivered to your home or office. Easy to reach, clearsprings.net, then contact us tab or 337-519-3563.
It's 9 a.m. You just received a voicemail from your boss.
Hey, Janet. Heads up. We got an important meeting coming up Thursday. The big guys are coming into town, so I need you in charge of lunch, and we've got to look good.
Luckily for Janet, she knows a place, and she knows her boss will be impressed.
Honey Baked Ham can cater your next event. Delicious and freshly sliced deli trays, box lunches with sandwich, chips, and dessert. Or try our fresh salad boxes, and the perfect touch with a meat and cheese tray. Honey Baked Ham Company.
Need peace of mind with your estate planning? Turn to Beal & Hebert, your trusted hometown lawyers. At Beal & Hebert, we make estate planning simple and stress-free, ensuring your legacy is secure and your future is in the right hands. Don't wait. Schedule your consultation today at BealHebert.com. That's BealHebert.com. Safeguarding your tomorrow today.
Looking for a spotless workplace? Variety Janitorial Services is your go-to. For office cleaning to stripping and floor waxing and carpet cleaning, your commercial space will look its best. Their reputation for perfection has grown throughout the entire Acadiana community. They deliver top-notch service with a commitment to excellence. Daily, weekly, or deep cleaning, trust the experts. Visit VarietyJan.com today or call 337-298-8704 for a free quote. Variety Janitorial Services. We clean, you shine.
You're listening to ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station. Your home for the Houston Astros.
All right, back here on the LohDown. Hope you enjoyed a trip down memory lane. We're here with James Mesh, by the way, who we're headed to Canton. We could talk about it now, James. It's kind of been a little bit of a secret around these parts, so now that I have you, what are your thoughts, man? You excited about this? What are you looking forward to about the trip to Canton? I really don't know how I'm gonna feel. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I'm gonna cry, but it's like if you care about these types of sports moments, this is a big one.
I've always been delayed emotionally, so I think I'll just probably come off as like I don't care that I'm over there, but at the same time, I'm gonna be like, this is gonna be just such a cool moment. I just don't know how to express it in that moment in time, and I'm not gonna have it hit me emotionally and internally until I'm like, wow, I really went to the Hall of Fame and I got to go see Drew Brees' induction ceremony and him get to see his bust revealed. It's like, I mean, like, who else can say that, especially when they're like a fan and a member of the Who Dat Nation?
That's right. We'll be in a fairly exclusive club. What do you remember about the game I just discussed, the Panthers game? Anything jump out to
So
you?
I was telling you about that earlier. I missed a lot of the first half of that game because it was, if I recall correctly, it was during a Saturday evening.
Sounds right.
I think it was like a 6 o'clock kickoff or whatever, or like the 3:30. I can't exactly remember. I just remember missing a solid chunk of the game because I went to church that evening. But I had forgot a lot that you had brought up, and now that I'm watching the highlights back, I'm like, oh yeah, I do remember how much Michael Thomas was dawking on James Bradbury in that coverage. When I watched it back and seeing the angle by McCaffrey, I was like, man, that was tough. And like, and you also have to remember that was his rookie season. It was the same thing as Kamara. Like both of those guys were in their rookie season. And you were like, man, just seeing him and seeing all the times that Cam, when he was in the dome, just had absolute monster games against the Saints defense. It just gave you absolute nightmares. But also, like watching back on that Ted Ginn touchdown, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that one because I remember the Cooks one a couple years later where it was 82 or 88 yard touchdown for Drew as well, and that was earlier. That was like a year or two before. But no, seeing that game back, I was like, yeah, these were a lot of crazy plays, and it was close. It was a nail biter, so you definitely felt like they were going to give you a heart attack. But thankfully, the Von Bell sack on Cam Newton.
It's one of the most satisfying. I said it. It's one of the most satisfying plays in Saints history.
That one I do remember absolutely vividly.
Just so like, because there, as I said before, there was so much venom towards Cam at that time from the Saints fan base. And so you got excited every time, if he got sacked somehow, and just seeing, but I did, I just discussed it, but like bringing pressure in those situations, that was one of the, that wasn't a super popular thing to do at the time. I feel like now it kind of gets done more often, but I love it, man. Now, if you give up the Hail Mary there, everybody's like, what an idiot. Why would you bring pressure? Which was that did Dennis Allen come the next year? Is that the first year of Dennis Allen in 17, 18? I think it is. Because I want to say when Dennis got brought in was like that first year of like the revival where they got out of the 7-9 thing, and he got a lot of credit for helping that defense out.
He had been there since. So he was the defensive assistant in 2015, but they also elevated him to being also the defensive coordinator from 2015 to 21 before he became head coach.
So he was there, and then that was the year where it was just kind of the breakout. And of course, they got the draft right. So
yeah, I mean, when you get Trey Hendrickson and Marshawn Lattimore and Marcus Williams, you're like, yeah, okay, yeah, we got some good pieces to work with.
Well, there you have it. All right, that is it for a Tuesday edition of the show. As we mentioned before, very black and gold focused. We will be back tomorrow, another normal day. We'll talk with our friend Zach Nagy about anything happening in the world of LSU. We'll get his reaction to Media Days, what he thought as he's had some time to soak it in. Of course, we had him on the show live last week. But yeah, excited to do that and more. Thank you to our one guest today, Ross Jackson. Thanks to James as well. 1 to 3 tomorrow, same time, same places. For now, though, we send it over to AFR with Matt Moscona, ESPN, Southwest Louisiana Sports Station.
August 15th is the date for the 12th annual Fête du Teche boat procession down the Bayou Teche. The day begins with Mass en Francais with Bishop Desautels at 8 a.m. at St. Leo's Church in Leonville. The boats then depart for a Eucharistic boat procession ending in St. Martinville. Register your boat today or find out more information at fêteduteche.org or by liking their Facebook page. Don't miss the 12th annual Fête du Teche, Saturday, August 15th.
We are the soldiers of the Louisiana Army National Guard. We are your neighbors. We are your sons and daughters. While we serve part-time, we are learning valuable life and job skills. We are earning money for college, for trade and technical schools, and for certifications. We are proud to serve both our country and our home state. We are your Louisiana Army National Guard.
Sponsored by the Louisiana Army National Guard. Aired by the Louisiana Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Oh, look who's here.
Everybody Loves Raymond is on MeTV.
Who told you that?
Raymond!
America's #1 classic TV network.
Nothing even comes close.
Enjoy 2 back-to-back episodes every weeknight.
We're doing it twice.
Watch Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah, it's all about you, Raymond.
Weeknights starting at 8 on MeTV.
Watch Meet TV Acadiana on KLWB, over the air on channel 50.1. Check your local cable listings for the channel in your area.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
Live from Upper Lafayette, this is ESPN 1037 KLWB Carencro Lafayette, KLCJ-FM Oak Grove Lake Charles 1041, a Delta Media station.